In December 1944, when many believed Nazi Germany was finished in the West, the Wehrmacht launched one last audacious gamble. In the deep woods and steep hills of the Ardennes, a quiet sector erupted into the Battle of the Bulge, a surprise offensive that carved a swollen bulge into Allied lines on the map. It began at dawn on December 16, 1944, and after savage, freezing combat, ended around January 25, 1945. For the United States Army, it would become the largest and bloodiest single battle of the war. By late 1944, Germany was reeling. Huge losses in France, thin reserves and fuel shortages. Yet Hitler approved Operation Wacht am Rhein, a counteroffensive through the least likely avenue, the Ardennes. The idea was blunt and bold: smash through thin American lines, race to the Meuse River, seize crossings, then drive on Antwerp to split the Anglo-American alliance and force a negotiated peace. The Ardennes' reputation as a quiet backwater and winter's poor flying weather were part of the calculation. 3 German armies would punch across a 70-plus-mile front. In the north, 6th Panzer Army with elite SS Panzer divisions would spearhead the dash to the Meuse. In the center, 5th Panzer Army would seize road hubs like Saint-Vith and Bastogne. In the south, 7th Army would guard the flank. To magnify confusion, SS Obersturmbannführer Otto Skorzeny organized Operation Greif, English-speaking commandos in U.S. uniforms, and captured vehicles to misdirect traffic, switch signs, and, if possible, grab Meuse bridges before they could be blown. But the plan had built-in risks. The Ardennes road net was narrow. A single knocked-out vehicle could clog a column for hours. Bridges were choke points. American engineers were primed to demolish them. German fuel stocks were precarious. Their spearheads would have to capture Allied gasoline to keep going. And while low clouds and fog could initially blind Allied air power, everyone knew a weather turn could flip the battlefield overnight. Equally deadly, if the Meuse was held and the British set a firm line, any deep German penetration could become a pocket. Just before dawn on December 16th, German guns opened up across the Ardennes. Assault troops slipped through snow and fir trees toward American outposts. At the tactical level, GIs fought back hard. At the operational level, the scale of the blow took hours to reveal itself up the chain. Then the armored wedges rolled. In the north, Kampfgruppe Peiper, the hard-hitting task force of 1st SS Panzer Division, bulldozed forward in the race to the Meuse. On December 17th, men from Peiper's column perpetrated the Malmedy massacre, murdering American POWs near a crossroads outside the town. News of the atrocity raced through the ranks and will forever stain this offensive. Meanwhile, U.S. engineers and ad hoc roadblocks blew bridges and jammed the few good routes at Stavelot, Trois Ponts, and Malmedy, slowing the spearhead. On the center-right, the road nexus of Saint-Vith became a cork in the bottle. A scratch defense, engineers, cavalry, and the 7th Armored Division absorbed blow after blow, buying days the German timetable didn't have. The stalling around Saint-Vith rippled outward, snarling traffic and burning precious fuel. At the center of the Ardennes Road sat Bastogne, a town where 7 highways met. By December 20th, 1944, German armor and infantry had encircled it, turning the crossroads into a frozen island. Inside were elements of the 101st Airborne Division under Brigadier General Anthony McAuliffe, reinforced by teams from the 10th Armored Division and the 705 Tank Destroyer Battalion. Ammunition, food, and medical supplies were tight. The weather was worse. foxholes iced over. Frostbite and shelling took a daily toll. On December 22nd, German envoys delivered a formal demand to surrender, praising American honor and hinting at annihilation. McAuliffe's typed reply was one word: nuts, passed back through the lines and instantly adopted by the garrison as a rallying cry. The message was simple: Bastogne would hold. The next day, December 23rd, the weather finally broke. Low clouds lifted. Allied C-47 transports roared in to airdrop ammunition, rations, and medical kits. Gliders followed with medics and anti-tank guns. The drops didn't make the defenders comfortable, but they kept the perimeter alive. The Germans pressed hard to finish it before relief arrived. Outlying villages, Noville, Foy, Bizery, Marvy, saw repeated thrusts and night infiltrations. On Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, attacks surged from several directions, including armor probing the southern approaches. American artillery massed its fires, bazooka teams stalked the lanes, and the 705th's fast M18 Hellcats slammed into Panthers and Mark IVs at close range. Each assault bent the line, none broke it. On December 26th, tanks from the 4th Armored Division, spearheaded by the 37th Tank Battalion and the Sherman nicknamed Cobra King, punched through at Assenois and rolled into town, linking up with the 101st on the southern edge. The siege was relieved, not over. The corridor was a narrow, shelled ribbon that had to be widened over the next days. But the spell was broken. Bastogne had done its job, denying the road hub, bleeding the offensive, and buying the time the Allies needed to seize back the initiative. The Ardennes winter was more than scenery. It was a weapon. In the opening phase, fog and low cloud grounded Allied fighter bombers and masked German movements. Roads glazed with ice, vehicles slid into ditches, frostbite stalked foxholes. When the weather broke on December 23rd, Allied air power returned with a vengeance. Supply drops for encircled units and punishing strikes on German columns and depots. That turn in the sky helped turn the battle. December 19th, 1944, Verdun. Eisenhower convenes his commanders and demands a counterblow. George S. Patton is already postured to swing Third Army north. Orders crackle out. Elements of Third Corps, the 4th Armored, 26th Infantry, and 81st Infantry Divisions under Major General John Milliken will pivot off the Metz-Arlon axis and drive north to help pinch the salient from below. Military police reverse traffic on key routes, staff officers flip march tables, and fuel echelons are rerouted in hours, not days. The intent is simple: hit the German thrust in the ribs while the northern shoulder firms up, then close a vise. To stabilize that northern shoulder, Eisenhower temporarily places 1st and 9th U.S. Armies under Bernard Montgomery's 21st Army Group. British Third Corps extends a mobile screen along the Meuse at Givet, Dinant, and Namur, organizing demolitions and reserves to ensure that, even if panzers reach the river, they do not get across. American engineers and ad hoc roadblocks thicken the road net east of the Meuse. Corps artillery registers likely crossings and junctions. The Allied idea hardens: hold the Meuse, squeeze the salient from north and south, and turn the German dash into a pocket. On December 22nd, Third Army's lead formations jump off. The push north is a logistics and command test. Convoys on one-lane forest roads, MPs untangling intersections, division trains leapfrogging ammo and gasoline. The aim isn't glamour, it's geometry. Shorten the Bulge, threaten German supply lines, and force them to fight while facing the wrong way. In the center sector, the deepest German penetration comes from the 2nd Panzer Division, which skims past Rochefort toward Foy Notre Dame and Celle, closest of all spearheads to the Meuse. There, the advance stalls. Blown bridges and empty tanks slow the thrust. Allied armor strikes from multiple axes. From December 24th to 26th, U.S. 2nd Armored Division, Hell on Wheels, with British 29th Armored Brigade in support, smashes the Selle's pocket, captures prisoners, and leaves wrecked vehicles across hedgerows and fields. The much-touted dash to the river is over. Through late December and early January, First Army organizes a set-piece drive south from the Marche-Auton line, while Third Army keeps pressing northeast from Luxembourg and the Sur-Wiltz corridors. Town by town, Loutrebois, Saint-Lez, Villers-la-Bonne-Eau, Flamierge, the map tightens. German formations, bled of fuel and time, begin phased withdrawals to avoid entrapment. On January 16, 1945, American patrols from 1st and 3rd Armies meet near Houffalize. The Bulge is cut, lateral movement inside the salient collapses. From there, the front contracts steadily. Strong points are unpicked, road nets reopened, and the German line recedes toward its December start positions. By the final week of January, the winter gamble has failed, and the initiative in the West has passed, decisively, to the Allies. By December 19th, Kampfgruppe Peiper was overextended and bleeding fuel. Bridges behind and ahead had been dropped, road knots were choked with wrecks, and supply routes were repeatedly cut. Attempts to push fuel forward failed. Relief thrusts from neighboring SS elements couldn't break through. With his rear threatened, Peiper pulled into L'Église, turned the village into a hedgehog, and braced for containment. American artillery and armor methodically compressed the pocket around L'Église and the river bends. Tanks ran lower and lower on fuel. Mobility vanished, and the column's heavy vehicles became liabilities instead of assets. Facing encirclement, Peiper made the only choice left to preserve his men. On the night of December 23rd to 24th, he led roughly 800 survivors out on foot, abandoning all heavy equipment, including Panthers and Tiger II, and slipped east over the ridges to German lines. One of those King Tigers still stands in L'Église, a steel epitaph to a spent spearhead. With that breakout, the northern thrust was effectively finished. From that point, German higher headquarters shifted from breakthrough to extraction. Across the salient, orders directed phased withdrawals, rear guards to delay, bridges and culverts dropped on schedule, demolition parties rendering stranded armor useless, columns stepping back by bounds toward the west wall, Siegfried Line. The final gamble in the air, Operation Bodenplatte on January 1st, 1945, a mass strike on Allied airfields, proved costly and fleeting, unable to alter the ground truth. Through early January, Allied pressure from north and south steadily compressed the salient. Key road hubs were unpicked, lateral movement inside the pocket collapsed, and formations fell back to avoid entrapment. By January 25, 1945, the front had been shoved back near its start line. The loss of Peiper's group symbolized the larger reality. The Ardennes gamble had failed, trading irreplaceable armor, fuel, and veterans for a temporary Bulge, and leaving the Wehrmacht falling back on the Siegfried Line with no path to regain the initiative in the west. The cost was ghastly, roughly 80,000 U.S. casualties, including nearly 20,000 killed. German losses on the order of 80,000 to 100,000. Towns lay in ruins, forests pocked with shell holes, and miles of road were littered with burned-out vehicles. Behind the arrows on maps were people who wouldn't break. PFC Jose M. Lopez near Krinkelt on December 17th lugged his heavy machine gun from flank to flank, mowing down assault waves and covering a withdrawal, actions that earned the Medal of Honor. Sergeant Francis S. Curry, December 21st, near Malmedy, fought tanks at close range, rescued trapped comrades, and held a vital strongpoint. Tech Sergeant Vernon McGarity of the 99th Division, December 16th, repeatedly braved fire to retrieve ammo and save wounded men before capture. These are only 3 of the 21 Medals of Honor awarded for the Ardennes, but they capture the spirit that held. The Battle of the Bulge stands as the largest U.S. engagement of World War II, a test of endurance, improvisation, and coalition command. It's a case study in how logistics, weather, and time can decide campaigns, and how a single word, nuts, can become the emblem of a whole battle's defiance. If this video added something to your understanding of history, please like, leave a comment, and subscribe for more.